Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the adWISE special summer webinar. Today, we will have a special guest that I will introduce in just a couple minutes. But in the meantime, I would like to give an introduction to adWISE and about how I spent my last high school summer at UCSD. So what is adWISE? adWISE is a mentoring program created for female and non-binary students in 8th to 12th grade. adWISE helps connect students with a mentor in the career field of their choice to help guide them through their high school career. The mentors are professionals in STEM and business who will give their mentees opportunities and tips over the course of 6 months. Our vision for adWISE is to introduce students to different career paths early on, and this gives them a head start in picking their major in college and finding opportunities to stand out to colleges in that field. The opportunity to learn from mentors with connections to the field and insight will give students a distinct advantage in the future by enabling them to gain experience in it before graduating. So what is Enlace? In March, I received the amazing news that I had been accepted into the Enlace Summer Research Program. And this past summer, I spent 7 weeks at UCSD doing research under professor through Enlace. The Enlace Summer Research Program at UC San Diego aims to encourage the participation of high school students, university students, researchers, and teachers in research in the sciences and engineering, while promoting cross-border friendships between Latin America and the United States. Participants in the program will join a research lab at UCSD in a specific interest of each participant. You can check out more information about applying to Enlace for the next summer program here. So I met some of the most amazing people at Enlace this past summer, and I got to do a lot of hands-on research in bioengineering, a field I'm very interested in pursuing in the future. Enlace gave me an incredible and one-of-a-kind experience, and I hope by sharing my experience with more students around the US, they can get a chance to attend Enlace too. I would like to welcome the amazing woman who does it all, Dr. Olivia Graeve, a professor at UCSD and the founder of the Enlace program. She will be speaking on her education journey and career path, and then we will have a Q&A session with the questions you all sent in.
Okay, I am happy to be here, and I can see all of the students that are connected to this. Almost everyone is from Enlace, and that's great. With actually the only student not from Enlace is Rabia. Thank you for being here. And everyone else, so happy that you're here and to see your names. So I was asked to speak a little bit about my career, and I am happy to do so. I wonder, Sahana, if you want me to start from when I was in high school, or because I want this to be a conversation, right? From where do you want me to start?
High school would be great.
Okay. So I attended high school in Tijuana. Tijuana is my hometown. And this is located just across the border from San Diego. And so I grew up in a very binational environment, with crossing the border often for all kinds of reasons, going to the supermarket, going to the movies. And so both San Diego and Tijuana, I feel, are a home to me. I now live in San Diego, of course, and I am a professor at the University of California, San Diego. So my participation in binational activities has been going on since I was very young. I finished high school in Tijuana in a really great school that promoted science and engineering among the students. And then I did my undergraduate degree at UC San Diego. So it turned out that I basically stayed in the region. When I was at UCSD, I lived in the dorms for about 2 years. Two years of my undergraduate, I was in the dorms, but not in the dorms that the Enlace students were in, because those are great. Those are so new and so perfect. But I still had a great time. I was actually in the Revel dorms of UC San Diego. So some of you here will more or less know where that is. I was able to live in the dorms for 2 years. It took me 5 years to finish my undergraduate degree. I studied structural engineering as an undergraduate. And so for 3 years, I couldn't afford living in the dormitories. So I lived at home, and meaning Tijuana. And so I was one of those students that crossed the border every day to go to school. And so when I finished way back in 1995, that's when I moved to finally to really truly live in the US, because I moved to UC Davis, which is close to Sacramento, California. And at UC Davis, I completed my PhD now in material science and engineering, which is really what I wanted to do. UC San Diego did not have an undergraduate degree in material science. Plus, I didn't really, when I was in high school, I didn't really know about that. But I then became very intrigued by it when I was doing undergraduate research at UCSD with a materials professor. And then that made me switch, and I decided to pursue a PhD in material science. I came to UCSD in 2012, not immediately after the PhD. I actually had 2 academic positions before. I was a professor at the University of Nevada, Reno for about 6 years. And then I moved to Alfred University in New York, and I was there for about 4 years. And then I got a phone call from UCSD saying that there was a position that I fit very well, that I should apply. And I certainly did that because I really wanted to come back home. And San Diego, Tijuana is home. So for me, coming back to UCSD was really amazing. My area of research is materials in extreme environments. I work a lot with space materials, the development of space materials for satellites, for Mars colonization, for habitats in the moon, all of the re-entry vehicles for spacecraft that, like the space shuttle that comes back through the atmosphere, gets very hot. All of those things are things that I research in my lab. And so I came back to UCSD in 2012. I had a clear idea, more or less, of what I wanted to do when I arrived with respect to the research. But I also had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do in outreach. Having lived and grown up in this binational region of Tijuana, San Diego, I knew that I wanted to explore research opportunities for students from both sides of the border. And I didn't want to focus it only on the border. I wanted it to be the US, all the US and all of Mexico. And I wanted to do that because I knew that there can be these amazing relationships that can form when you put good people together. And so the Enlace program was putting good people together. And I know that these friendships are going to have formed, and that they will be lifelong. And that modifies, in my view, US-Mexico relations. And so at the same time, one would think that a program like this that has so much enriching opportunities would be helpful for students from other parts of the world. And so slowly but surely, I am now starting to open my program to other students that are not from the US and from Mexico. So for example, last year, I had a student from Bolivia and from South America. This year, I had one student from India, that born and raised, meaning because of course there were several students, including Sahana and others, that are born in the US, but of parents from that are immigrants. But we did have one student that was actually from India. And so I think that if we start thinking about opening the doors to many kinds of people and build a truly diverse community, that really changes the conversation, that really changes lives. And that's really what the goal of Enlace is all about. I think a lot of people here are from the program. And to me, that, I don't think I need to repeat myself because you've heard me say this. You heard me say it at the Future Summit. It's an exciting program that I think a lot of people value. And I know that everyone that is here that has participated in the program values it a lot. And so I think what I would like to do now, if Sahana, you are in agreement, I'd like to actually open it up for questions, because I want to have this be a conversation. We had time to have some conversations during the summer, but I think that not enough. And so, whatever you want to ask, this is the moment to do it, and I'm happy to respond to your questions.
Of course, there's also a lot of students that weren't able to join, but they send in questions through a Google form. So if students don't send in questions, we can also use those as well.
That sounds great. So why don't we start with one of those questions?
Awesome. So one of the questions was, what are some of the challenges you have encountered being a Mexican woman in this field, and how have you overcome those prejudices and barriers?
So the first part of the question is challenges, right? Yes. I think that the main challenge is that there are not many expectations of success from people of Mexican Hispanic background, that people think that you are just going to be, cleaning houses or something like this. And so when you attempt to move beyond that, and there is nothing wrong with cleaning houses. We need people to help us with cleaning houses, and it's all honest jobs. They are great. But there is an opportunity for all kinds of people among the Hispanic community, including people with PhDs, including people that are professors. But the expectation is not there. And so when you are in an environment in which nobody believes that you can do it, there is the danger that you'll start believing that you can't do it. And so how do you overcome that? You overcome by certainly believing in yourself, knowing that sí se puede, knowing that you can do it, and believing it honestly, which means that you have to keep repeating it to yourself. How do you believe something? You keep repeating it to yourself. You keep telling yourself that you can do this. And then once you convince yourself that you can do it, you need to build somewhat of a thick skin, because there will be people that criticize and people that will continue to not believe that you can do it. And so it's about ignoring those naysayers and ignoring the negativity and moving forward with conviction that you can do this. I think that's my response to those two questions. Anika, hi. I see a question here. Do you have any advice for young girls who are trying to thrive in STEM tech spaces that are really male dominated? How would you maintain the motivation to push through when the environment feels unwelcoming? During the summer program, I mentioned at least a couple of times as a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt that says that nobody can make you feel inferior without your permission. And I believe very strongly in that. How do you thrive in a STEM tech space, as Anika is asking? You do not allow the negativity and the naysayers to exclude you. I think that sometimes it's easier said than done. I understand that sometimes you may start doubting yourself because it's so male dominated, because because it's difficult to maintain the motivation if you don't see people that are around you. And so one recommendation that I have, certainly the first one is, don't let those people get you down, right? You are strong, but the second recommendation that I have is, perhaps you would be motivated and continue to be motivated if you thought of yourself as an important Shane and a role model for next generation. Maybe you can tell yourself, I have to do this because there's going to be young girls younger than me that are going to want to do this, and I have to be that example. And that is actually a very big motivator for me. Sometimes one gets tired, sometimes one gets perhaps lonely, but if you have a strong network, a strong community, a family that supports you, and even if it's not family, but like friends, for example, and you maintain that, then you can say, okay, there's lots of males here, or lots of people that don't represent me, that don't get me, that don't understand who I am and where I come from. But I have to stick it out because I am the example for the next generation. And maybe that would be a motivator for you to both not allow people to get you down, to basically say what Eleanor Roosevelt said, which was that nobody can make you feel inferior without your permission. And at the same time, accept and recognize that you are a role model. And maybe that'll keep you going, because you have to say to yourself, I have to succeed so that younger generations can also succeed. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So there's a question here, Rabia, who is your scientist, engineer, or person who motivated you to dedicate yourself to this field? Okay, scientist or engineer or person in general. I think that I had really great teachers in middle school and high school that motivated me. So my chemistry teacher in junior high was really great and believed in me. And then in high school, my math teacher was great. Oh, my math teacher in junior high in middle school was also great. So my math teacher, my chemistry teacher in middle school, and then so I would say, sort of as a general response to that, is that I didn't really have scientists or engineers as role models in the community that I grew up in. I didn't know any of them, but I had my science teachers. And my science teachers were motivators for me. So that worked out really well. Do you think that Paulina's asking, do you think that trying to correct the mean people is worthwhile, I think? Or, are you going to spend your time doing that? Well, I have two responses to that. Generally, no. Generally, if you start arguing with people that are truly mean, you're only going to get on an argument that is not going to convince anybody. So best to just walk away and not engage. And in fact, we heard this at the Science and Society lecture that was given by Mara Elliott. It's like, you don't engage, you just walk away, because you're not going to convince them. And the only thing you're going to end up doing is having a shouting match. So generally, it's not worth it. However, there are times when people are being bullied, when people are being put down by others, and you cannot be a bystander to that. You have to speak out. You heard this at the anti-bias training, right? You cannot, if you see something happening that is really wrong, and you're a bystander, you cannot stay as a simple bystander. You have to stand up for that one person that is being bullied. So if it's happening to you and there's nobody there to stand up for you, best to just walk away, because you're just not gonna, it's just a shouting match. It's not gonna go anywhere. But if you see injustice and you see discrimination and you see bullying, then yes, do not be a quiet, silent bystander to that. So you see how it's basically depending on the situation, no?
Dr. Graeve, if I could interrupt, I had a quick follow-up question to that. How do you not let the hate get to you? How do you still keep yourself motivated and keep going?
Yeah, that is sometimes difficult. I think that the answer to that is that I keep a strong community surrounding me, a strong community of friends and family. Some people have both. Some people perhaps have just family. Some people have friends. You know, it's about building a shell of protection and building a shell of people that will always be with you no matter what. And I think that is really how I do it. If you are being attacked verbally, for example, it does hit you, and it probably takes a little bit to sort of mentally work through that. And one of the ways that you can work through that is to talk to somebody that you trust, your best friend, a family member that is, close to you. It's about talking it out and getting it out of your system, not letting it linger, because then if you're letting it linger, the other person is winning. It's like, just get it out. Talk to somebody that you love and that you trust and that loves you, and get it out, because otherwise it just festers mentally. That's my best recommendation to that. Mm-hmm. So there's a question here from Hema. How are opportunities for girls pursuing STEM careers from Mexico different from those in USA? I mean, the issues are about the same. Lack of women in those fields is in both countries. There's no difference there. I think that one potential difference is that in the US, it's a much more heterogeneous society with immigrants from all over the world. And there is perhaps a little bit more, depending on where you are in the United States, a little bit more of an acceptance. For example, California is very accepting and is trying to promote girls in science and engineering, whereas other states in the United States are not, and that is a fact. Mexico is more homogeneous in the sense that more or less the entire country is of the same view. So in the United States, if you are living in an environment that is very aggressive and very negative, you can move and find one that isn't. In Mexico, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. And so but Mexico too is trying to promote girls pursuing STEM careers. There are programs to do that, and many of the students in Enlace, the female students in Enlace, have benefited from that. So I think the struggles are the same. I also think that both countries are trying to a significant extent, to improve things for girls. I do believe that in the US there are probably a little bit more opportunities because of the immigrant heterogeneous society that is the US, whereas in Mexico it's more homogeneous in that sense. Nonetheless, both countries are trying to do that. So Albani, hi. In your opinion, what changes, if any, are needed in the scientific field to make it more attractive to women in science and potential future scientists? So I think there's probably a lot of things that could be done. I don't know if there is one answer to that. And you're asking in plural, I see that. What changes, meaning not just one thing, but a variety of things. So I don't think I have the answer to everything, but I have a couple of ideas on how it could be better. The first one is that you need to show girls at a young age what science is all about. To show them the fun of it, to show them how interesting it is, and to maintain that attitude of this is super fun all the way through high school and college. So there has to be an investment in showing girls that this is fun. So programs like Enlace, hopefully everyone thought that research was fun. I think most everyone did, maybe everyone did. But so the investment in showing the fun of it is number one, I would think. And it does require an investment. And then number two, I think that we need to continue growing the numbers of role models for girls, so that they can see that it actually is possible, that it is not just them thinking that they want to do this, but that there are other women that in fact have managed to do it. And I know that the numbers are growing. I know that more and more we have older women like myself that are there to support the next generation, but it's still not enough. And so the growth of role models by promoting this at a young age, I think is like the future.
So we had one question that was privately sent in. It was, how were you able to find your specialty / subfield research area, and how were you able to choose the college that you attended?
So I think that in general, a lot of students that are good in math when they are in junior high and high school get steered toward engineering careers. It's very, very common if you're good in math and get good grades in math and science in general, which I did. It's very common for school counselors to start saying, oh, you're good in math. Oh, you should be an engineer. So in high school, I heard that. I heard that from my counselors, like, oh, yeah, you're good in math. You should be an engineer. And I'm like, okay. I didn't know what engineers did. And plus, then I found out that there's like all kinds of engineers. So I'm like, what? I know, how do I even select this? And I don't know, at some point in high school, somebody told me that civil engineers build houses. And I thought that was pretty good. I was like, people need houses. I can design houses. I can build houses. So I think I'm going to go do that. And that's why I went into structural engineering. It was, I have to admit, it was kind of an accident. But there's no mistakes, right? In the middle of becoming a civil engineer, a structural engineer, I discovered that I like material science more. And for the PhD, I switched over. No big deal. I did finish structural engineering. I mean, at that point in time, I was like, why even bother changing majors? I think I'm just going to go and finish this major and go do a PhD in materials once I finish the undergrad degree. I think some component of my selection of civil engineering, once I found out that civil engineers build houses, was motivated by lack of housing in my hometown in Tijuana. There was a big lack of housing. And so I figured, we need houses. I can build houses. And that was kind of a motivator as well when I was in high school. So, okay, Faith, yeah, hi. What keeps you motivated to come to work every day, even when you face challenges? So number one, the students. You know, I have made a commitment and I have a responsibility to educate students. And that's what keeps me going, really. I have made a commitment and I cannot backtrack on that commitment. That's not in me. If I have made that commitment, I'm going to see it through. And the commitment I have made is to educate students, and I believe in students, and I believe in the next generation and the good that you can do. So that keeps me motivated. I cannot let go of that responsibility. I take it very seriously. So that keeps me motivated. Paulina, again, is your opinion, is necessary to do networking sometimes with people we don't like? Well, I don't think I think it depends on the context. I can see some situations in which you would need to be at a business networking event or reception or something like that with people that you don't like. But I don't think that you need to hang out with them too much and have them, become your dear friends or anything like that. Yes, in business meetings and in business environments, there will be people that you don't like. So what? Let them be. And you go hang out with the people that you don't like, and they don't have to become your lifelong buddies. Which they won't, because you don't like them. So, that's just not going to happen, right? It's okay. You can hang out at a business social, at a networking event. Just, that's it. That's business. And then you leave. So that was my response, Paulina. Okay, Sahana, any other questions from the Google form?
We just got a question in the chat saying, how does one find opportunities for women in STEM?
Oh my gosh, that's like an extremely broad question. So it depends on what level you're asking at. Are you asking for opportunities at the level of high school? Or are you asking for opportunities at the level of college? Or are you asking for opportunities at the level of like an actual professional job? Okay. I think at every level, it's a different answer. That's my point. At the level of high school, I think that the opportunities are probably very connected to internship and summer research opportunities like Enlace. And so, I mean, go online and start looking for opportunities at every university. Universities have these kinds of programs. Although, of course, Enlace is the best one ever, right? You all agree. And that's UC San Diego. But other universities have summer research programs. And I think that you basically just need to go online and start like doing some searches for that. If you do a search on Enlace, just put Enlace UCSD on a web browser and the program will come up immediately. If you look for, if you do a search for, say, high school research, something like that, do that kind of search with variations in perhaps the search terms that you use. That some of them will show up, and then you can start exploring. Yeah, at that point in time, it's like the internet is like your best friend in that sense, because that's really how you're going to find the opportunities. And of course, the Enlace students are also ambassadors for the program for all of you that are here that are in high school. And because we do have a mixture. I'm looking at the list of attendees. There's a mixture here of high school and college, a couple of college students in here from Enlace. You are ambassadors for this program, promote it so that some of your friends that are looking for these kinds of opportunities know at least about this one. But other ones, internet. There is no general repository of these kinds of opportunities anywhere. So you basically have to do that search yourself.
If there are no more questions in the chat, we got one really interesting question sent in, which was if you could turn back time to the best stage of your life, which time would you jump back into?
Oh, huh. So, I have had a great life, and I have had a great life because I always have a positive attitude. So I always thought, ever since I can remember, maybe, the first time I thought of it was like when I was turning 17 or something like this, or when I was turning 15, maybe. I'm not even sure when, but every time my birthday came, I was like, this is great. This next year is going to be the best year ever. And it was. And then, the next birthday would come around and I would think again the same thing. It's like, oh, this is great. This coming year is going to be the best year ever. And it was again. Positive attitude. And I continue to say that, I don't feel ancient. I realize that I am old. I mean, I'm over 50, okay? So 5 decades. And every year that I have my birthday, I think this is great. It's going to be the best year ever. But if I could go back, where would I go? Boy, that's a hard one. I'm not so sure that I can give you one. I probably can give you 3, okay? Because there's no way I can select only one. I would go back to college. I had a great time in college. I had a great group of friends. It was just great at UC San Diego, right? I would go back to UCSD. So how old was I? I was like 20, no? And I started college at 18, no? And then I graduated in 20, I was 22 and a half or something like this. So college would be one. Enjoy college. College is great. Stressful, yes, lots of homework, exams, and all of that, but it's like really super fun in so many ways. The other one is when I was, oh my gosh, how old was I? Well, in the year 2008, 2009, I'm not sure how old I was. But that year, I moved to New York to a university to work in New York at a university there in upstate New York. Yeah, that was super fun. That was great. I think those 2.
Awesome. So I think if that's it, if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But I think I would really like to say a huge thank you, Dr. Graeve, for joining us today. It was really a good experience to hear about not only your career path, but also your incredible advice from all of your past experiences and from the background you have. It's really great to hear about how students can how many more women can go into STEM and business and how to like feel unbothered by other obstacles in their way. And obviously the amazing quote to not like let others make you feel small. And I want to continue sharing about Enlace to not only people in my school, but also to more people in adWISE. Although only a few people are able to join today, I will obviously continue to send more newsletters regarding it, and also send the recorded webinar today, so they'll be able to hear in their own time. But again, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Dr. Graeve for joining us today. And for the next steps, if you're interested in joining adWISE, please be sure to reach out to our email at adwise4hs@gmail.com. We'll be having our next webinar and sometime later in this fall with 3 new speakers who will all be available to mentor. They'll all be in different fields in STEM, and you can find more information on our website. That's all I have today. Thank you so much again to Dr. Graeve and to all of you guys for joining. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahana, for this invitation. And if I may say, I'm very proud of you. This is great. This is great what you're doing. What a beautiful opportunity here for a lot of people that you're opening doors here with this program that you're doing. This is great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
A big
And
applause.
thank you all. Thank you.
Bye.